Oh, okay. Okay, somebody doing a presentation. Oh, where's the keyboard? Next time I'm bringing my name.
Mr. Chair, it is 4 o'clock and we appear to have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I will then call the meeting to order for the Mesilla Valley Metropolitan Planning Organization Technical Advisory Committee for June 1st, 2023. First item, well, before we start, if I can start on my left and have everybody state their name and their agency. Also remind folks that when you're speaking or asking a question or making a motion or seconding a motion, if you could state your name for the purpose of the secretary. I'll start with Harold.
Harold Love, New Mexico DOT.
Andreas Lenen, New Mexico DOT.
Tim Pitts, City of Las Cruces.
Dave Wallace, BLM.
Mike Bartholomew, City of Las Cruces, Roadrunner Transit.
Ashley Curry, Las Cruces Public Schools.
Eddie Salazar with the town of Mesilla.
Christina Ainsworth, Doña County.
Rod McGilvery, Town of Mesilla.
Renee Molina, Doña County Engineering.
Michael Garza, Doña County Flood Commission.
David Weir, City of Las Cruces.
Thank you. First item is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair, there are not.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Ashley Curry, so moved.
Second.
Dave Wallace, second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Next, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Next item is the approval of the minutes of May 4th, 2023. I do have one small correction on the minutes. On page 5, line 35, it says the speaker is David Weir, but it was whoever responded to David Weir's question, either Mr. Lawyer or Mr. Ray, probably.
Mr. Chair, I think it was Mr. Ray responded to a question that I had.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the minutes with that one modification.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Christina Ainsworth, second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of approval of the minutes with that one correction, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Public comment. Anybody wishing? You're not going to talk, Andy? Action items or recommendations of an update to the Mesilla Valley MPO Public Participation Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dominic Loya for MPO staff. I will be presenting this item. So as most people here know, before we go into a metropolitan transportation plan, we have to do a public participation plan. Being that the metropolitan transportation plan is up for renewal basically next year, we will be doing the public participation plan now. The public participation plan basically is a guide for any type of, for the participation in public activities. It gives the MPO tools to facilitate the participation as well as a process. One change basically is made in this one, and this was due to 2020. And those of you that were with us in 2020 know how hard it was to have virtual presentations, virtual meetings, which we had to do because we were required to have 3 public engagements during the process, and that was the final one. And so we were scrambling to figure out how to do it. So now, within the public participation plan, we do have a section on it. It is vague specifically so that we can keep up with the different different and changing ways to engage the public virtually. That way we aren't stuck just using one type of engagement. The rest of the changes have been basically to clean up the document due to the upcoming changes in the role of the MPO along with the city of Las Cruces. So as I said, they're just basically minor changes for things that have come up in the last 5 years. BPAC did recommend this at their last meeting. MPO staff is requesting that TAC recommend approval of this to the policy board, and I will now stand for any comments or questions.
Any questions, comments from the committee? Mr. Ware?
Mr. Chair, and I just had one item. I think on the 3rd page of the plan, it's the one that reads introduction at the top. On the 2nd column, the 4th bullet, it looks like the action item is missing. I think maybe just as you were updating this, it may have got excluded, but it looks like a couple of words may be missing.
Mr. Loy, I saw that too. I think when I was comparing it to your current plan, and I think it's just there was a carriage return there, so that bullet and the bullet above it are supposed to go together. So, and mobility options available to, I think it just needs to be a single bullet and combine those. And also there's on that same page and a few more bullets down, one of them has an "and" after it. Is that supposed to be there kind of randomly?
Mr. Chair, I do believe so. That is straight out of some of the federal regulations.
Oh, okay.
So I'll check to make sure, but I believe it is supposed to be in there as an "and."
A couple other editorial comments is if the pages could be numbered on it. I noticed that the current plan didn't have page numbers, even though there was a table of contents. If it could have page numbers put into it. My other question was, is the 3 appendices that are in the existing plan, will they be carried over to this plan as well?
Yes, Mr. Chair, those will be carried over to the plan as well.
Okay. And as far as this document goes, that was my only comments. Any others? So it looks like we need a motion to recommend this updated public participation plan to the policy committee. Is it policy committee or board now? Excuse me.
It's board now.
Okay, I believe there was actually, I forgot to mention that too. I believe there's a reference to policy committee in the document as well.
I will look through that. I thought I got all of them, but apparently I probably did miss one or two.
Mr. Chair, I motion that we recommend approval of the public participation plan with those, and with staff having the ability to make those minor edits and include the attachments as discussed.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Ashley Curry, second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the recommendation of the public participation plan, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is the discussion item, boundary smoothing process presentation.
Mr. Chair, I will be handling this as well. Dominic Boyer for MPO staff. So with the census every 10 years, boundary smoothing becomes a conversation. So as we've started receiving the data from the census, we do have an urban boundary now, and then we are looking to go ahead and smooth that out. We'll discuss what all of that means here as we go along. So as I said, 2020 was the last census. Urban areas have now been adjusted. Urban areas are populations of 5,000 or more, or 2,000 housing units or more, and it's based on dwelling units per square mile. So an urban area boundary is created by the US Census, as I said before, using those two metrics, using census blocks, and then is approved by the Office of Management and Budget. And they do that, it was due on December 2022 of every 10 years. So basically 2 years after the census, they have to have it done. So they did have it done, they got it to us. So then what is a smooth boundary? Basically, we'll show the map of what the urban area looks like here at the end. It's basically based on those census blocks. So it's jagged, it's all over the place. So the smooth area, urban area is created by the MPO. It is basically, it'll expand that area, or it can expand that area that is considered the urban area. As I said, it's using the 2020 urban areas. And then it's basically the policy board will approve this along with NMDOT and the Federal Highway Administration. That's due this September. So, and then we have the Metropolitan Planning Boundary Area, which of course is what the MPO is. That is not looking at being changed at this time, but it's created with NMDOT, and it's just for transportation planning activities in the area. And that is also due if there were any changes to that in September of 2023. So right here, we see all the impervious surfaces. This is how you get basically commercial areas in the urban boundaries. This right here is the urbanized area of Las Cruces. We also have Doña up here a little bit. And then as we go down here, we can see this is El Paso. And we can see there are little spots in between, which are most of basically the unincorporated areas of Doña County. So here's what the urban boundary looks like. As you can see, it's jagged. We've got all these little areas. There's a couple important things to notice. The Las Cruces Airport, International Airport, is not in this area, or not considered in this area, as well as the industrial park. And we do have some people here to talk on that. So what will happen will be, next time when we come back, we'll basically be giving options to look at. So some will be simply, expanding it out to include places like Picacho Hills, the airport. It could stay the same as this, or include some of this area out here on the East Mesa. Just depends on how, basically, which map would be recommended to policy board. And we'll be looking for a recommendation on that. And we'll present 3 options. And one will be basically stay the same. One will be a smaller boundary, one will be a much larger boundary. I do apologize, I didn't finish changing the slide. So it is an action item for TAC next time. As I said, we will be presenting alternatives. And then now I'm going to go ahead and let Mr. Andy Hume come up and speak for the airport. And we have also Ms. Celicia Villegas here for the industrial park.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the Technical Advisory Committee. My name is Andy Hume, and I serve as the Director of Las Cruces International Airport. There was a slide, I don't know if maybe it was in a previous presentation that I saw, but had some criteria that the MPO is going to be using to do the boundary smoothing. And I'm trying to remember a couple of the criteria in particular that related to some good reasons to include the airport. One, as was on a previous slide, looking at the complete network, the complete transportation network. And certainly the airport is part of the complete transportation network for our area. So that would be, I think, a good reason for the inclusion for that in the overall urban area. Also, with the growth that's been going on and the opportunities to connect from the west side of Las Cruces over to the airport, to the industrial park, and I won't steal any of Silicia's thunder, but really it's part of an overall, it's part of an overall network. It's part of an overall system. And I apologize, I'm stumbling a little bit here, but I think that's really the main crux of the matter here that we're looking at is when we're looking at the urban area boundary. So thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Good afternoon. My name is Celicia Viegas, and I serve as the industrial park manager out there for the city of Las Cruces. And as Andy mentioned, as the growth, we start filling in the industrial park, I believe including that area in the urban side would have some benefits to funding bigger dollars for infrastructure going that way. So I think that's primarily what we're here for. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I'll now stand for any comments or questions.
Okay, could you, Dominic, could you go back to the overview that showed where the current boundaries were for the urbanized area? That was a couple slides. Yeah. I had I support industrial park and airport for this too, from a transit point of view, that even though we don't provide service out there, it would make more sense if it was continuous urbanized designated area out to the airport and industrial park area. Other areas that I don't know how it's going to fall with your analysis as you go through this, but there's a stretch of US 70 that's where Oñate High School is. It's outside of the urbanized area, and we do have a bus stop there. That's technically, we have a bus stop not in the urbanized area at that point. And we also have a similar one on Sonoma Ranch near where the Walmart neighborhood store is too. Sonoma Ranch is also really interesting. You don't have a blow up of this, so you can't see the details, but in some places, both sides of Sonoma Ranch are inside the urbanized areas, but in some cases, like near the Walmart, the east side of the road is outside of the urbanized area. It seems like it would make sense to have it all inside the urbanized area. Are there other comments from the committee members?
Harold Love, New Mexico DOT. Does the smoothing of the boundary has any effect on the actual city limits?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Love, it does not. As we can see, actually, some of these areas are actually outside of the city limits. So it's just basically what is considered urbanized by the Census Bureau, and then how our networks engage with the other areas around it. And as Mr. Hume alluded to, it does have to do with funding. And so if it's in an urbanized area, there's more funding opportunities available. Whereas if it's in a rural area, there are less funding opportunities, but also less competition.
Andreas and NMDOT, will expanding the boundaries of the urbanized area also expand the amount of urban funds available? Are there other sources, more sources when the area gets bigger? Or is the amount of money that we're competing for going to be a fixed amount and we just have more players?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Lannan, it is basically a fixed amount of money, unless new money, of course, is introduced, which we've seen over the last few years. New money can be introduced as things go along, but it is a fixed amount.
Mike Bartholomew, just to follow up on his question. So if some of these areas were expanded, would the population that's presently in the non-urbanized area, would that then add basically to the population of the urbanized area? Increase in terms of transit funding, I think that has a little bit of an effect, the amount of the population in the urbanized area.
Mr. Chair, I do believe it would expand the amount of population in the urbanized area.
Mr. Chair, this is Andrew Ray. It would, but the amounts that we'd be talking about are negligible. It's
Yeah.
not going to change the amount of money or the type or the categories that we would be eligible for. It's just, it's moving the line so that different areas become eligible for urban versus rural funding, but we're not talking about the kind of population encapsulation that would change any categories that we're eligible for.
Yeah, I recognize that. I was just curious if those few extra people would be added to the urbanized area. And I do realize that really it's the pot of money that's available to be distributed affects how much funding we get. It also how much the growth of our urbanized area is relative to the other urbanized areas in the country and how that pot of money is divided up. So there's a lot of factors going into that.
Mr. Chair, this is also Andrew again. We will be presenting 3 options at next month's meeting, but those are not exclusive options. Those are kind of conversation pieces. So the TAC will, and the BPAC as well will be at liberty to tinker with the lines to their own satisfaction in their recommendation to the policy board. The 3 examples will be more to sort of frame the conversation as it moves forward at next month's meeting.
Okay, thank you. And that's in 2 months, right? Not next
That
month.
is in 2 months. Well, more on that later.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Tim Pitts, so I just expressed my support for including the airport and the industrial park. I think park in the area. I think it makes sense to plan those as part of as a part of our urbanized area. And it looks like we'll have some other areas we'll add in. So that I just want to express my support for that.
Any other questions? Looks like that's all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We'll move on to item number 7, committee and staff comments. We'll start with City of Las Cruces.
No real updates at the moment. We have a new capital improvement plan. I'm sure we'll have some things in the new budget year to talk about.
Okay. Doña County?
Nothing to report. Doña County, Rene Molina.
Town of Mesilla?
Rod McGilvery, nothing to report.
Okay. Las Cruces Public Schools?
Ashley Curry, I'll just say school ends tomorrow, June 2nd, for the short summer, and students go back the 19th and the 20th of July. There are some summer school programs going on, but other than that, that's all we have for LCPS. Thanks.
Next is Roadrunner Transit. That would be me. Mike Bartholomew. No real updates. We're still working out a few fixes on the electric buses at the manufacturers, but we still hope to be seeing those buses in Las Cruces in a couple weeks. They won't probably be put into service until August or so because we still have to get them titled and licensed and all the training done on them. We're still waiting for the charging infrastructure to be completed out at our new facility too. So that will delay putting them out into service. And that's all I have. South Central, or is anybody here?
They're not here today,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Next would be NMDOT updates.
Harold Love, New Mexico DOT. New Mexico DOT only has one active project, and well, pretty much Mountain States has completed their section of work on US 70. The subcontractor continues night work by placing permanent striping and working from NASA Road to Picacho. Drivers can expect lane closures as the contractor moves along US 70. And that's all.
Thank you. MPO staff updates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just have one with 2 parts. This does mark the halfway point of 2023, so this is the final meeting for the TAC here at Doña County. The TAC is on vacation in the month of July, so we will be reconvening on August the 3rd at City of Las Cruces Council Chambers. So we will be sending out appropriate reminders to everyone as we get closer to that date. But that's the only MPO staff update today.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment? I don't think so. I will take a motion for adjournment then.
Ashley Curry, so moved.
There a second?
Pitt, second.
It's been moved in second. All in approving adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.